Hello, long time no speak. This isn't a comedy video, so I'm sorry if you've tuned in for the laughs. This is a call to action video, and it builds on the video that Mark and Cora did about the work with IICSA and the work with their MPs. So what I want to talk to you about is two very specific and distinct issues, and it's important that we get our message clear on these two issues. So the first issue is IICSA, the Independent Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse in the UK. We want, as activists, IICSA to deal with Jehovah's Witnesses as a separate group. We don't want them to lump us in with all other religions, okay? So there'll be there's one on the Catholic Church, one on the Church of England, and then others. And we want to be a separate group as Jehovah's Witnesses, because if we're lumped in with others, our specific issues about the two-witness rule and the shunning and the way that they control people will be lost within that. So the way we can do that, and we need to move quickly because the timescale is very short, is that we need to be reporting as many Jehovah's Witness cases of abuse as possible to IICSA to put pressure on them to deal with us separately. They are under pressure to not deal with us separately for the following reasons. I'm going to put a link below to a PDF document that compares the Australian Royal Commission to IICSA. And the Australian Royal Commission was the gold standard of how to deal with these issues. But here are the facts. The annualised income of IICSA is 18 million per year. The annualised income for Australian Royal Commission was 45 million per year. Now Australia has a third of the population of the UK, so 3 times more money for a third of the population. Australia funded their commission to 9 times the level that we're funding ours. Australia had 6 panel members, and they were each able to sit separately in different hearings, so that 6 people could hear 6 hearings simultaneously. IICSA has got 4 panel members, and they all must sit together on each hearing. So again, Australia 6 times the level of hearings that we could have. IICSA currently have 216 staff. The Australian Royal Commission had 250 staff for a third of the population of us. So if we were staffed at IICSA to the same level as the Royal Commission, we'd be looking at 750 staff. So their funds and their time and their resources are limited, and we need to put pressure on them to shout and say we need to be dealt with separately. There has been some good work putting pressure on IICSA. So last week or 2 weeks ago there was an article in The Guardian which put pressure on IICSA to deal with Jehovah's Witnesses separately. That was followed up by an encrypted form that you could fill in to send your story to IICSA. That will have put pressure on them. This week it was followed up by a story in the BBC by Peter Sanders from NAPAC, the National Association for People Abused in Childhood. And Peter Sanders called for the Jehovah's Witnesses to be dealt with separately. So there is some pressure on IICSA, but what they really need to hold their feet to the fire is as many incidences of abuse within Jehovah's Witnesses as possible. And we know there are many cases. And these don't have to be current. We can look at historic incidences of abuse. It's evidence to show that the Jehovah's Witnesses do not deal with abuse appropriately. So my first call to action is to ask you that if you have a historic story of abuse, or if you know of someone, or you know of a family member, please report it to IICSA. I will put a link down below so that you can go straight to IICSA and report it. Please do not report it to other people who are harvesting stories and using those stories for their own agenda. Please don't go to people who claim to be putting together a package to represent you. You go to IICSA and represent yourself, and you will be listened to. But please do it really quickly. Right, the second issue that we can act on is mandatory reporting. I've been speaking to a gentleman called Tom Parry who works for an organisation, well, he set up the organisation Mandate Now. I will put his website in the links below. Mandate Now have been working since 2005 to try and enact mandatory reporting. They have drafted legislation that they've put to the government. It's all been written out. It's been done by barristers. It's been pushed by Baroness Walmsley in the House of Lords. And as you know, if you've watched Mark and Cora's video, Alex Chalk is also pushing for our issues to be raised in the House of Commons. So I'll speak about that in a little bit. But here's the problem. The Conservative government very recently have issued a written report saying that they do not want to enact mandatory reporting. And these are the reasons they've given. They've said that it will be too expensive. There will be a flood of cases and they won't be able to deal with them and they couldn't stand the cost. They've also said that if mandatory reporting was affected, then children wouldn't report. Well, that's utter nonsense, because children report because they want something to be done. Tom Parry on Mandate Now has picked apart the government's report that says the reasons why they don't want mandatory reporting. It's utter rubbish, their reasons. The costs of not introducing mandatory reporting will far outweigh the costs of introducing it. It's like saying, let's not screen for breast cancer because we don't want the incidence of breast cancer to go up. Well, that's nonsense. Whether you screen for it or not, it will still happen. And if you screen for it, you can catch it early and you can cut costs by healing people rather than waiting until it's too late and then dealing with the aftermath. So Mandate Now are working with barristers and with Baroness Walmsley, and she is bringing a debate into the House of Lords. We know that the Conservative government do not want mandatory reporting. Here's the kicker. Loads of people, including myself, think that we already have mandatory reporting for teachers and social workers. No, we don't. I've been saying it for as long as I've been a teacher, and it's not true. What we have is statutory guidance. Statutory, legal, guidance. Don't have to follow it. So what that means is a school has to give regard to the statutory guidance when they're putting together their safeguarding policies, okay? They have to read the document. What they do after that is entirely up to them. They can say, I have given regard to the statutory guidance and we don't have to report. As a teacher, I could watch another teacher abuse a child and not report it, and I would not have broken the law. That's what the current situation is in the UK. Now, that is shocking. And I felt bad when I was told this by Tom Parry. But then he told me, MPs are saying it, NSPCC are saying it at national conferences, and it's not true. Right, so I might get sacked if I didn't report, but I would not have broken the law. And that's the situation we've got. Now, the good news is, if your local MP is Labour or Lib Dem, it is part of their party policy that they want mandatory reporting. So you're okay if you have a Labour or a Lib Dem MP. They will be behind you. Conservative MPs will be on a sticky wicket if they push for mandatory reporting, because the government's written official response is that they said they do not want mandatory reporting. Now, Mark's video, this is what I wanted to build on. Mark has done 5 years of solid work, not just firing letters off, but walking on the streets, supporting his MP, leafleting, just so that that MP would listen to Mark, and that was his previous MP. And he continued when his MP changed, and now he's got Alex Chalk, Conservative MP for Cheltenham, to listen to him. And Alex Chalk has offered to table a backbench debate about the Jehovah's Witness issue and the 2-witness rule and what can be done. Now, for Alex Chalk to go broader than that and start asking for mandatory reporting would be a career-terminating move for him. So this is our second call to action. This is what we are asking you to do. I'm going to put a link below so that you can find your local MP. It's a website, you type your postcode in and it tells you who your MP is and how you can get hold of them. We're asking people to go and visit their MP and talk to them about the issues of Jehovah's Witnesses and the fact that they do not report any child abuse because of the 2-witness rule, And if you have a Labour or a Lib Dem MP, we'd also like you to talk about the broader issue of mandatory reporting. I will post below the draft legislation that has been written by Mandate Now and put to the government that would make mandatory reporting law. And it would be brilliant for Jehovah's Witnesses, because what they currently say is, well, even if mandatory reporting was brought in, we don't have regulated activities because we don't have Sunday schools and we don't have the Tuesday group and we don't have any children's activities. That is not true. If mandatory reporting was brought in, it would encompass all faith activities, and that would include going to Kingdom Hall or going to church. They would not be able to get out of mandatory reporting by saying we don't have any regulated activities. Faith activities would be regulated activities. So take the draft legislation along to your MP, unless it's a Conservative, and say this is what would solve the problem of Jehovah's Witnesses not reporting child sexual abuse. So if you've got a Labour or a Lib Dem MP, it's part of their party policy. They will agree with you. They might not agree in full with the draft legislation, but they will agree in principle that it should be enacted as law. If you've got a Conservative MP, like I have in Gloucester, it's not a lost game. You can still ask him to support his Conservative colleague Alex Chalk in his backbench debate about the issue of Jehovah's Witnesses and child sexual abuse. That will not be career terminating for any Conservative politician. Obviously, the answer to that would be mandatory reporting, but Conservatives would not be able to come out and say that even if they believed it privately. So we're going to be more subtle with those, and we're going to talk about what could help end the issue of abuse among Jehovah's Witnesses, that they need to change their policies and procedures. So I hope I've been clear. There are two issues here that we need action on. One is putting pressure on IICSA to deal with Jehovah's Witnesses as a separate issue in their investigations. We know that's not going to be easy because they're on a very limited budget and they're on very limited time. And so we're asking you to take as many stories as possible directly to IICSA to put pressure on them. The second is we're asking you to go to your MPs and talk about either supporting Alex Chalk in his backbench debate or supporting Baroness Walmsley with her push to enact mandatory reporting and supporting that draft legislation that's been drawn up. And I will put all the links below. Now, I know I'm saying, oh, the government don't want to do mandatory reporting and IICSA don't want to deal with this separately. Well, failure's never stopped me doing anything. Think you'll find failure is my bedfellow. So don't let the fact that we may not get the outcome we want stop you. You don't know what might happen. You don't know who's going to come along next and build on your shoulders. If you're only going to do things because you're hinging it on a successful outcome, you might as well give up now. But that's not what we're about. We're in this for the long game. We're going to build as much as we can, even if we're knocked back at every turn. You know, it's inevitable. Mandatory reporting is inevitable eventually. As sure as the end of slavery was inevitable, but wouldn't have seemed like it in the 18th century when people were being made slaves. As sure as women getting the vote was inevitable. As sure as black people being allowed to sit on buses and walk on pavements in America was inevitable. It's inevitable, but it might just take a long time. But do not let that stop you from doing action. Do not think, what is the point of this? There's always a point to act in. It just might not be the point that you have in your head. So please act quickly and act for IICSA and act decisively if you want to go and see your MP. And thank you so much for supporting Mark and supporting Alex Chalk and supporting Tom Parry at Mandate Now and supporting Baroness Walmsley, who wants to bring in I've forgotten my words, mandatory reporting. Thank you very much for everything that you can do that can add to this. Okay, thank you for listening. Goodbye.